Hi there, this is Mr. Evans. This video is going to introduce social environment and look at demographic change. So we've moved on to section 3.7.6, still looking at doing our SWOT analysis, our assessment of the business's internal strengths and weaknesses, looking at where we're good in terms of finance, operations, people, where our weaknesses are internally, and then having a look at the external environment through the PESTLE analysis, and the S of which stands for social, to assess what opportunities and threats there are outside of the business, and how can we match our internal strengths to the opportunities in the environment and manage our weaknesses so that these threats in the external environment don't become a problem. So this video is going to introduce what the social environment is, what we really mean, and I'll have a look at some demographic changes at the moment that are presenting opportunities and threats in the UK. So the social environment, we could define it as the beliefs, customs, cultures, concerns, common behaviours present in a particular community. By a particular community, I could be talking about a very small geographical area that a business serves, or maybe a national community, or even a community stretching over a number of countries, like the European Union could be considered to a certain extent a community. So here are some changes that are going on in the social environment in the UK. There's an ageing population, increases in life expectancy. We looked at demographics and its impact on businesses in Unit 3.1. There's increasing ethnic diversity within the UK, and there has been over a number of years. Young people are now living with their parents for longer, what with things like university tuitions going up and difficulty in young people getting jobs. It's and combine that with the increase in house prices in the UK, and young people are often being forced to live with their parents for longer. That's a big demographic change. Society, despite increasing ethnic diversity and people from different religious backgrounds moving in, society in the UK, from my point of view, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I think it's probably the case that society is becoming increasingly secular. And what I mean by that is that people are less likely now to be tied to a particular religious belief. Certainly 100 years ago, most people would have gone to church all the time, every week, and identified themselves probably as Christian at that time. But there are an increasing number of people who don't identify with any religion. More individualism, I would say, is a characteristic of the UK, so less sense of community and more a sense of people kind of looking out for themselves. This was a particular characteristic, a criticism really of Thatcher's government in the 80s, how it promoted individualism and lost maybe a little sense of community. On the other hand, though, there's definitely an increasing concern for ethical production, environmentally friendly production, and products that are, on many occasions these days, people won't just buy the cheapest product. They're more concerned about paying a little bit more money and getting a product that's been produced fairly, ethically, and is of good quality. Fitness, healthy eating, lifestyle concerns, all becoming more prevalent in recent years. So all of those are to do with the UK social environment. It says in the specification you need to include demographic changes. So demographics is specifically about population. So these are kind of population trends going on. The ageing population I've mentioned. There's a lot more migration just generally in the world. We saw with globalisation, people are happier moving abroad, both into the UK and out of the UK. Brexit, I suspect, will have a rather large impact on people who are wanting to move into the UK. Doesn't send a particularly welcoming message maybe to people from Europe if people are voting to leave the EU. There's internal migration within the UK. Lots of people move to southeast England, the London area, where there's generally higher incomes and more job opportunities. Increasing amounts of second home ownership, almost so where people buy a second home, maybe down near the coast or in the countryside, and don't visit it quite so often. And young people are living at home with their parents for longer periods. So, and another one, more emphasis on the father sharing parenting duties. So, what opportunities are there from these particular kinds of demographic changes? Obviously, businesses can look at their products. If we've got an ageing population, we want to have products that are going to target that older generation. If there's increasing diversity in the UK population, we want a workforce that reflects that. Studies show that organisations with a more diverse workforce that reflects the population is likely to be more successful. Offering flexible working patterns, so offering opportunities if males are going to be more involved in childcare, maybe being slightly more flexible with working hours, so that fathers can maybe drop off and pick their children up from school. Selling a range of products, targeting people from abroad. Okay, so what we've got lots of inward migration. People coming from abroad. So what foods do these people want? What other products might they want that we don't sell here? What about communication devices and communication with home, and cheap international phone calls? And what specialist financial services do these people want? They want to be able to send money home. Lots of businesses can get involved in that. And products for people leaving the UK. Maybe they're leaving a home in the UK and they want someone to look after it, or particular financial advice that they need. So all of these represent opportunities for businesses. In terms of threats from demographic changes, we've got the costs of employing an older workforce. How might we need to adjust the workplace so it's friendlier for people who are older in our workforce? What about the Brexit risks? Okay, so if indeed the UK is seen as a less popular place to work for young Spanish workers, young Italian workers, young workers from Eastern Europe, how's that going to affect on the ability of firms in the UK to recruit a skilled workforce? What impact will that have on wages if there's a lower supply of labour? Will that increase their costs of production? And another result of having an ageing population, people living longer, is when UK companies have offered final salary pensions, which is where companies continue to pay their workers who have worked for them for their lifetime. People are living longer. That increased the amount of money that UK companies have to pay out. And if you Google the pensions crisis in the UK, you see this can be a real issue for UK companies. Some opportunities and threats there as a result of demographic changes in the social environment.